400 million years ago, there existed a creature. A single feeding session of his could cause half the life in a bay to vanish. It wasn't a shark. It wasn't a sea monster. It was a conical shell. When paleontologists excavated its fossils, the entire research team was left speechless, because this stone tube was a full 11 meters long, equivalent to a bus standing upright. And that was only part of its body. Even more absurdly, it had neither bones nor legs. Yet it used nothing but soft tissue to dominate the ocean for 80 million years. How long did the Tyrannosaurus rex live? Less than 3 million years. Not even a fraction of its tenure. But the discovery that truly made scientists' skin crawl came in 2019. A fossil clearly recorded its final meal. The prey wasn't a fish, nor a shrimp, but a peer of equal size to itself. It swallowed its kin whole from the tail, without even spitting out the shell. This creature is called Cameroceras. You might not have heard this name before, but it ruled the Earth's oceans for far longer than any animal you could name. Let me set the scene for you. 470 million years ago, there was nothing on land. No trees, no grass, no animals of any kind. All life was packed into the ocean. That ocean wasn't the blue, calm place we know today. It was a chaotic, crowded arena of slaughter. And in this arena, there was one thing everyone avoided on sight. The body of the Cameroceras was a straight, cone-shaped hard shell, tapering to a point towards the rear. It could stretch up to 11 meters long. But those 11 meters were just the shell. The front end was the truly terrifying part. A soft head, a dozen thick tentacles, and a beak like a parrot's. Scientists have calculated, based on proportions, that its total length might have exceeded 20 meters. What does 20 meters mean? It's the height of a 6-story building, or 2 buses parked intoned, and it had no bones, no legs, relying only on soft tissue to carry this carcass and rampage through the sea. But what truly fascinates scientists about the Cameroceras isn't just its size, but what was hidden inside its shell. Scientists use CT scanning technology to conduct a cross-sectional analysis of the fossil. The result revealed that inside that seemingly solid, massive conical shell, there were partitions, dividing it into 30 to 40 independent chambers. Each chamber was sealed, like individual rooms in a building. Running through all these chambers was a thin tube called a siphuncle. What could this siphuncle do? It could precisely regulate the ratio of gas and liquid in each chamber. To ascend, it filled the chambers with gas, and the whole body rose slowly. To dive, it filled them with water, sinking silently into the depths. To hover, it adjusted the gas and water to a precise equilibrium, drifting there without a movement, waiting for prey to deliver itself to its door. This system, it took humans hundreds of years, only by the end of the 19th century, to create something similar, known as submarine ballast tanks. Nature was nearly 500 million years ahead of human engineers. So, how did it hunt? There is a detail here that surprises everyone. The Cameroceras never actively chased its prey. It wasn't that it didn't want to, it was that it couldn't. Its 11-meter-long conical shell was incredibly heavy, with a massive turning radius. If it charged at full speed, by the time it turned around, the prey would have long since disappeared. So, it chose a different method: ambush. It would hover in the shadows of a reef, its tentacles dangling loosely over the edge of the crevice, swaying gently with the current. It looked just like strands of common seaweed, with no hint of threat. The trilobite didn't know. It crawled slowly along the reef wall, searching for algae and food, doing what it did every single day. It never realized that the seaweed was sensing every vibration of its steps, closer and closer. In the next second, the tentacles struck, like a dozen iron chains whipping out from the reef crevice, tightly binding the prey. The trilobite struggled desperately in its shell. It was useless. biting down and shattering the hard armor instantly. Scientists found in the stomach area of the Cameroceras fossil a large amount of crushed trilobite shell debris. The largest fragments were no more than 3 millimeters. Yet, even such an invincible existence eventually disappeared 443 million years ago. At the end of the Ordovician period, the Earth suddenly changed its face. The Gondwana continent drifted near the South Pole, triggering a global ice age. Temperatures plummeted by nearly 20 degrees Celsius. Sea levels dropped sharply. The vast, warm, shallow seas disappeared on a large scale. For the Cameroceras, this was a total catastrophe. Its sophisticated buoyancy control system began to fail in the rapidly cooling seawater. The viscosity of the liquid in its chambers changed due to the low temperature, slowing down the regulation speed. It could no longer precisely control its depth. Even worse, the food chain collapsed. Trilobites died in droves. Another prey decreased drastically, and that massive body of the Cameroceras required dozens of times more energy to sustain daily than an ordinary creature. Can you imagine that? Seeing the sun-rivaled ocean overlord, dragging its heavy shell in waters growing colder and narrower, unable to find enough food, its buoyancy system began to malfunction, and its body became increasingly difficult to control. The giant armor it was so proud of had become the cage that would trap it to death. This mass extinction wiped out 85 fun-taram of marine species on Earth. The Cameroceras, in this disaster, disappeared from the fossil record forever. But next, this twist is the part that truly gives people goosebumps. The Cameroceras went extinct, but several lineages of the cephalopods it belonged to survived. They did one thing. They gave up everything their ancestors were proud of. They gave up their massive bodies. They gave up their hard outer shells, retracting the shell inside their bodies, or even completely evolving it away. They became smaller, softer, and more agile. These survivors later evolved into all the cephalopods. In today's oceans, nautilus, cuttlefish, octopuses, and squids. Yes, that skewer of squid at your barbecue stall, its ancestor, was once the most terrifying existence to all creatures on this planet, and now you dip it in sauce and eat it in one bite. The descendants of kings have fallen to this, but there's one more thing. That is the most chilling part of the Cameroceras story. During the Ordovician period, the ancestors of fish were still very fragile, with simple skeletons, slow speed, and poor sensory systems. In front of the Cameroceras, they had almost no way to fight back. The only way out was to become stronger or die. Thus, the pressure of predation forced early fish to develop lighter skeletons, more developed muscles, and more sensitive nervous systems. Later, the descendants of these fish climbed onto land, and after a long time, stood upright, learned to use fire, built submarines, and began to study that monster that lived in the sea. 400 million years ago, the Cameroceras, while eating our ancestors, was also, bit by bit, forcing us into the way we are today. It was our ancestors' most feared predator, and also one of the earliest shapers of human civilization. So you see, extinction is never the end. The Cameroceras has been gone for 400 million years, but its influence has never truly vanished. Its descendants are still at your barbecue stall tonight. The fear it instilled is still carved into the evolutionary history of your ancestors' bones. The disappearance of the strong is never the end of the story, but rather the place where other lives truly begin. No matter how precise the system, no matter how powerful the body, they can all, at the moment the environment changes, become a burden. Those who truly survive are never the strongest, but the ones most capable of adaptation. That little thing scavenging for scraps in the giant beast's shadow endured the mass extinction, endured the long passage of time, eventually stood upright, built mobile phones, started scrolling through short videos, and saw this story about the Cameroceras. You are the answer that survived.